understanding God's wonders and remembering the multitude of his mercies. This is part 2 from Psalm 106. Now, I shared a little bit in the last section about how important it is to remember what God has done and his great mercies. He's always merciful to us, but also for us to consider the great wonders that he has done for us. Well, in this psalm was a historical psalm, and it was describing one of the main events was the parting of the Red Sea. And as Israel was being brought out by God supernaturally from Egyptian bondage, they were having doubts. They were confused, they were wondering, they were questioning right all the way to the Red Sea. And when they got to the Red Sea, they began to panic. And then it says that God parted the Red Sea, and each and every one of the children of Israel crossed over completely dry. When they got over on the other side, the story tells us, and the psalm highlights the fact that the waters came and prevailed over all of Israel's enemies, and not one of them was left. And it says then in verse 12, and then, not before, but then they believed. We have a problem sometimes with God, as he might say something, but we won't believe what he says until a miracle takes place. I'll believe it when I see it. And God is trying to get us on the other side of our faith. That is, believe it before we receive it, and believe it so we will receive it. But it says that then they believed God, and then the next verse says, they soon forgot God's works. And they lusted exceedingly in the wilderness, and they waited not for his counsel, and tempted God in the wilderness. And the next verse says that God sent them leanness of soul. That means a scantness of measure, referring to their soul, their mind, their will, and their emotions. They became, another word is for thinness, thin thoughts, few thoughts about the things of God. And this is a problem with the body of Christ. It's mentioned kind of in the, well, it's mentioned in the book of Revelation as lukewarmness, where they're neither hot nor cold, thin. And another way to describe that word in the Hebrew for leanness of soul is a wasting, like the wasting of a disease on the physical body. Just thoughts that are wasting away. You're losing your grip of the holy power of God. You're forgetting that he is able to do all things, that with God all things are possible. And I think that's a description of the body of Christ today in the church. We've wandered and we've sat there and said, God, we'll believe you when you do it. We'll tempt you in the wilderness or in the dry season when hard times are coming or things don't seem to be happening. We'll tempt you like a little child, put our head up against the wall and wait for God to respond and tap our shoulder and say, okay, I'll do something for you. Stop pouting. We've got to get out of that pouting mode. And that is something that we're all tempted with, but it's something that's critical injury to your faith. So don't allow that thinness of soul. Get bold, become confident and certain, secure in the fact that God is with you. He won't leave you nor forsake you, but remember his mercies are new every morning, and they are a multitude in number. And of course, consider and focus on or understand his wonders. Why does he do things supernaturally to protect us and preserve us so that we will come to a place of faith in him? You have a good day. God bless.